Letting go. Letting go of who you've strived to become, what you've decided to create, whether it be life, work schedule, a business, a life you've created, letting it go for something new, something better. That's the topic of today's conversation. Welcome to Unshakable Brain, your guide to an unshakable brain. I'm your host, Dr. Kylie, and my mission is simple: to help you grow a brain that's stronger, sharper, and unshakable in every part of your life. Each week, we explore the science, stories, and strategies to make that happen. This episode is brought to you by Dr. Rewire's Brain DNA Test. Find out more at unshakablebrain.ai. All right, let's dive in. So I want to welcome today Sandy Wesson. We got started talking about letting things go, letting our businesses go. And it's like, wait, we're in the exact same boat. This life that we created, we've let it go this year for something new, something different, and something better. So today's topic is letting things go. Welcome aboard, Sandy.
Thank you so much, Kylie. And congratulations on your new book. That's
Thank
exciting.
you. The Unshakable Brain book is now out on Amazon. If you haven't had a chance to go grab it, we had the Unshakable Brain book and the Unshakable Brain podcast. Ooh, that's a mouthful. All right, Sandy, walk us back through your days as a nurse. Walk
So,
us through your timeline of letting things go in life.
yeah. I'd say a bigger piece of this is trusting what
Yes.
we are
Oh my gosh.
guided, what we're
Trusting is like,
guided to do, because that's not always easy when where we've been. We know that part. So I am a registered nurse. When in my early career, I worked in the intensive care unit for many years. Then for a while left the hospital work and worked in software, working with hospitals around the country, then came back, eventually hospice and palliative care. So I've done a lot in clinical nursing. That's what I knew and I loved. And then letting go, life changes. I moved. My husband had a severe stroke, passed away. And it was like, okay, what's next? And I was guided to go back to school, learn about nutrition and those next steps. And
when you say
then
back to school, it wasn't traditional school though, right?
no, no,
Yeah, it
it
was
was
more
through the
certifications.
Yeah, no, it was through the Nutritional Therapy Association, through the
Right.
NTA, and learning a functional nutritional therapy practitioner is the title. But learning all the steps of digestion, how it affects the entire body if one piece of digestion is off. So what happens to the brain? What happens to, the adrenals? What happens to different parts of the body when our digestion isn't working? Thus the importance of the gut-brain connection.
Mhm.
And then I was guided to learn more about detoxification and how important it was to get the toxins out of the brain and the body. And then I was guided to learn neurofeedback. So like each piece along the way, it's like, what is this about? It's like, okay. And then it's like when I get through that piece and I learn that, and then I'm guided to study the next piece and I learn that, and then study the next piece. And then suddenly I could look back and say, oh, this all makes sense. This is all part of the whole, part of the big picture, looking at the brain. And we'll talk quickly about that since, that was our original purpose, and then talk about the letting go. But really, the importance of recognizing that when we're talking about the brain, when we're talking about the body, our overall health, I look at thoughts, traumas, and toxins. What's our stress level? What are we constantly thinking about? What are we
Thoughts, traumas, and what?
and toxins? So
Toxins. All right.
traumas can be emotional traumas, can be physical traumas, such as concussions when we're
Mhm.
looking at the brain, toxins, herbicides, pesticide, glyphosate, heavy metals, mold, many of those pieces that affect the brain. But, particularly in a concussion, even if our gut is perfect, which rarely is that the case for most people, we've got infections or parasites or whatever going on. But even if our gut's doing really well, and then we have a concussion, so now we've got a blow to the brain, a shock to the brain, that sends that shock down to the gut via the vagus nerve. And so now our gut is inflamed. And now that stays inflamed, which keeps the brain inflamed. So it keeps the brain has a harder time healing when we are dealing with those issues. So that's a big piece of when I was doing the clinical work, which we'll talk about the letting go piece of that in a moment. But that was a big piece. Whenever someone would communicate with me or contact me regarding a concussion, is first to start with the gut, because we have to get the gut to calm down so the brain can let go, because the brain can heal. Because once they're connected, trauma to one is trauma to the other, and it keeps this cycle going. So looking at that piece is really huge. And I mean, our intestinal tract has as many neurons as spinal cord. So I mean, that's one of the reasons they've often referred to the gut as a second brain. So there's a huge, huge, huge connection.
We could do an entire episode on that one.
I know, between the gut and the brain. And I used to work in that, pretty significantly. And then that's where the neurofeedback came in, because eventually we may have to redo some training in the brain after everything else is addressed. Then the neurofeedback for some people, for many people, can be helpful. But
yeah, so you focus on trauma, whether it be physical, emotional, like concussions, physical trauma, emotional trauma, relationships. Like, I don't want to say the N word, but there's a lot more narcissists out there now than there ever have been, I feel like. And that is trauma,
and that is
relationship trauma.
Yeah, that's a huge trauma.
So that's just an example, right? There can be many
just
others.
An example, but those are just pieces when we're thinking about that portion, the gut, the brain, those all have to be looked at. And the emotional component, because the emotional component is bigger than we understand. That the emotional, thoughts, traumas, toxins. So the thoughts, the stress from those emotional components, is our brain constantly just running with fear and negative emotions that too can have an impact. And then how does that affect the gut? Or if our gut is not working well, if we're not absorbing nutrients, or we've got an overgrowth of parasites, then those parasites create their own neurotransmitters. So they affect the way we think, unbeknownst to most of us. So there's, again, we're all connected. We're connected in so many ways that all those pieces doesn't mean we all will experience all of those pieces, but it is something definitely to be looked at in realizing that is a big part of our health.
Right. And as we shift back to the whole letting go concept.
Letting go.
The trauma, the toxins, the thoughts, like that is all part of our ability to let go and create something new.
Yes.
So as we move into this conversation even more so, can you give us like one action step to start releasing some trauma that will allow us to let go and move forward?
So one of the things that has been very helpful for me is when there's a piece that keeps coming up for me again and again and again, that maybe it was in a relationship and this kept happening and this kept happening and this kept happening. It's like, okay, what's that really about? That only has the meaning that I give it. The experience in itself has no meaning. It's my story that gives it meaning. So it's been useful for me when I could start to understand how much my story is creating. And I'm creating the story. So when I can start to look at the experience, the person, whatever that experience is, what is it here for in my life? What am I learning from that experience? So that I can begin to let go of its grip on me. and instead step back, even if it's just, maybe I'm not ready to go into love and compassion and all that. But if I can step back and say, okay, where's this taking me? What's this for in my life? What's the purpose? And if I can take that to a place of neutrality, if I can at least become neutral about it, then that allows me to not let it have such a stronghold.
Yeah, so
And it's just a step
you're
at a time.
reshaping the perception of the trauma.
Correct.
You're
Yes. It
really
doesn't
you're
mean
telling
that it
yourself
didn't
a new
happen.
story about it. Right.
Right.
I've
And
seen this
so
done with Dr. Rewire's processes. He, you might have some like Dr. Rewire's processes. You might have something similar, but went to an event with him in May of 25, and he has a step-by-step process where you identify the event, and then you have to go through different angles of looking at that event, and you come out with how that event was so good for you.
right.
So it's very similar as taking this concept of trauma, and I want to say big T, little t, doesn't matter. You all have it. We all have it.
Yep.
And rewiring the perception of the event for it to be beneficial to you.
Yes. Yes. Like why did this person show up in my life right now? What did I learn out of it? Not just what were the traumas, but what did I learn? And so, yeah, so that we can change our perception of it, change the story so that the story doesn't have us. We have the opportunities that grew from that.
And once you change that story, you're able to let go
Right.
and
Yeah.
move into this next
And
phase
it,
of
and it may
life.
come back later. It may come back again. That, okay, now can I look at this again? And do I need to look at it in a different way? Or is there yet another piece that I didn't recognize was a teaching for me?
Mm.
So it's, I find that for myself, sometimes it's not just one and done, like we hope it will be.
Wish, yeah.
But
How easy would it be if
sometimes,
it could just be one and done?
yeah, but sometimes it's just layers. And we just, have to be okay with that, recognize it and say, all right, here it is again. Now what? How am I, or why am I looking at this again? Is there more for me to learn, or was I not ready to completely let go of what was there and rewire that experience? So, yeah, it's those pieces of letting go.
There's trauma. What about toxins?
So, toxins, when I think about letting go, then I might have to let go of my addiction to that toxic relationship.
Hmm. I always think toxins as like
I
heavy
know, I
metals.
know.
You're taking a different angle. I like it. Okay.
But no, I was thinking first I was going to go to like the herbicides and the pesticides and changing our
Uh-huh.
eating and the toxins in the environment and paying more attention to that. It's like, but that's kind of the stuff we know about. Well, many of us, not everybody. Some of your listeners may learn. But yeah, so we do have to look at what are we eating and drinking, and what's the environment that we live in. Do we choose to not put some of the herbicides and pesticides and things in our environment, in our yard, in our garden, whatever? But then it is important to also look at the toxins in other aspects of our life. And that might be a toxic relationship. And recognizing that we can become addicted to, because we've experienced over and over and over that experience. Maybe it's somebody who they're not out and out cruel, they're not beating us, but maybe it's they're here to show us that we feel unworthy, or we don't feel like we're good enough, or but okay, so yeah, all right, you're pushing my button on that again. I grew up that way. Okay, you're pushing my button. But at some point we are so normalized to that feeling, but then we have to start waking up and release that toxic relationship, whether that's, just in friends or whether that's in, your partner, someone we're living with.
I even think like business relationships.
Oh, yeah. Business relationships
I
are
read a
big.
book early on and right out of chiropractic school called the Gabriel Method. And it was about a man who was like 400 pounds. And he tried every method under the sun to lose weight, including talking to Dr. Atkins himself with the Atkins diet. And he learned that there was a toxic relationship in his business environment, and his body was putting on literal protection.
Yes.
And when that man was no longer working in the environment, he was able to lose the protection. And that shifted my concept, my idea of overweight, obesity, weight loss in general. Like I said this to one patient early on in practice where I said, I read this book. And it was all about how our body can hang on to fat, hang on to whatever you want to call it. And it's a physical protection. And her immediate response was, are you telling me I'm not going to lose weight till my husband dies? And I'm like, I'm not telling you anything. And I don't want to get into that. I'm just saying that this is a possibility. So I often think that not just toxins relationships, but toxic in with any relationship in
Any
general.
relationship.
And is that why your body is carrying excess, or is it not? It's not excess to your body. It's a protection, physical
Protection.
protection to your body.
Yeah. It's, just speaking of weight loss, not just necessarily the letting go piece, but it is common for women, more often it's been women, but people who have been sexually abused to carry a lot of extra weight. It's protection. If I look this way, no one will want to touch me. No one will
True.
want that part of me. So that's a piece of weight. And then from just physical toxin perspective, toxins, our body tries very hard to take care of us. And so many times if we are consuming or breathing in, we're in a lot of toxins, then toxins are stored in the adipose tissue. So many times people put on weight, have extra fat, so the toxins can be stored there rather than going to our organs. It's one of the reasons when people have very rapid weight loss, there can be symptoms because now suddenly all these toxins are being released. People who have bariatric surgeries sometimes will lose weight so fast that then they end up losing their gallbladder. And so there is a connection to that very rapid weight loss with losing toxins very quickly. So I know I'm kind of going around and around and around spiraling here, but whether it's relationships, whether it's abuse, whether it's, toxins in our environment and what we're consuming, our bodies are trying to tell us something.
Yeah, let's move over to thoughts, trauma, toxins, and thoughts, and how we can, help to not just identify, but to rewire these things to become an unshakable brain. And also, part of that journey is to let what no longer serves us go.
Absolutely.
Thoughts.
So again, when we are having repetitive thoughts, then why is that? What is that about? I'm going to get off track just a little bit here from this point, but it's still somewhat on track. Let me make the story. Part of my letting go is I was guided to let go of my clinical practice and help people from a spiritual perspective, because I have been gifted with, for many years, with clairaudience, clairvoyance, clairsentience. So I can hear the other side. I can feel people around me, and I have a gift of knowingness as well. So as we are moving into this time, which is so chaotic for so many people, so difficult. I've been,
2025 has been a year.
yes, I've been guided, and this is part of my letting go of what I've known and helped people with clinically, but moving into a time where helping people communicate with the other side and how that has been healing because many times, and this comes back to toxic relationships. In addition to doing, the clinical work I was doing, I have a massage table over here. I have a healing table. So I would do energy healing on people. Many times when I had someone on the table and I was working on them, I would feel a presence. And, in one case with this one woman, I just said, okay, there's somebody else that's here that I think wants to talk to you, but it's a very angry energy. Is there anyone from your past that, is no longer with us, that's crossed over? Is there anyone that maybe there's some unfinished business with? And she goes, well, it's either my dad or my brother. Okay. So I checked it out and it's dad. And I was able to facilitate a communication between the two because I could hear him and allow those I'm sorry's because now on the other side, as a soul, they go on and they have to look at what they've done and try to understand it. And it was a very healing conversation for both parties. So part of letting go of the traumas that this woman experienced in her life and now having that understanding of what was going on for her and his apologies, her acceptance of that. So there's many ways then because that helped heal the trauma on both sides. For both the dad who, who said or did things that weren't in his highest or her highest good, but for her to be able to understand him from a different perspective also.
Yeah.
So,
As I've let my own clinical practice go and my own business consultation services go, and I've been transitioning into this new world of affiliate marketing. Like it excites me, it terrifies me, it all of the things,
mhm,
and that's where the control of our thoughts come into play. I could let fear run over me rampant. I can let all the excuses, all the reasons why I should just keep doing what I've been doing, but I've seen the transition in the economy post AI and things where what used to work doesn't work anymore. So if I were to continue in that space, then it's just going to be more heartache. But it's that journey of being willing to let it go.
mhm,
Like I've let my entire team go, great friends that in some instances had some toxic moments. And I've also learned that I don't want a team moving forward. I want to be able to do something that I can do more as a mom and just on like the side rather than a main business. So I've been in very much a mindset of control my thoughts, control what goes in my head, control what I'm thinking about this transition and trying to get fear out the door or just like realizing that fear is going to come along with me because it's going to be there and I'm just going to go do it anyways and not I've talked a lot on the podcast about how my dopamine levels go up and then they crash and they go up and they crash and
yeah,
I'm my nervous system is shot and I'm tired from it and I need something that's more like this with the steady dopamine release, but at the same time, that's new to my body, that's new to my nervous system, and it's new to my thought processes. So it's just all new all around. And when we reach back in a year, the end of 2026, when I look back and I'm like, okay, I did it. I let things go. I let it go and there's something new and it's better and it's even more better than I could imagine. Like those are the kind of things that we have to portray in our heads because otherwise negativity will set in and the fear will set in and make us numb. So as we talk about letting things go to become an unshakable brain and to build that life that we're truly that not that my life was horrible beforehand, it's just I'm in a new era. I don't have another thing I'm letting go is like I'm not having another baby. My littlest is 2. So it's letting that infant stage go and realizing it's not coming back again. Like there's stages in life that we go through and we get to be who we get to be in each stage and that can shift. And I think what I've been learning from it most recently is allowing that shift and stepping into the newness of letting the oldness go.
Thanks, Kylie, for sharing that, because when you were talking about the fear and that, either you have to deal with it or it comes alongside, or I wrote this down because, again, I'm clairaudient, so I hear stuff. And so at one point, I was kind of looking at a situation that started bringing up some anxiety about all these shifts for myself. And I wrote this down because it was so meaningful. And it said, staying in fear doesn't allow miracles to happen.
Mm,
And
I'm going
then,
to write that down.
and then I turned on some music. And I love it when there's confirmations that come through because I turned on some music and obviously it was mid-song. And the words that came forth at that point were, miracles can happen when we allow it. So I've just heard staying in fear doesn't allow miracles to happen. And then this music comes on that says miracles can happen when we allow it. And it is now taped to my monitor so that every day when I start going, okay, really, am I doing the right thing? It's like, it's like, okay, miracles can happen when we allow it. Get out of the fear.
Yeah. Well, that's super cool. I know I've experienced your journey through you the last couple of years as we've talked and connected. And I think a lot of times people will say, well, it's easy for you to say when you have money. But the reality is like we do it anyways,
Yeah.
even when we're in the red, even when we're dealing with ugly partnerships, just behind the scenes, even if we have lawyers coming at us, like we're doing it anyways.
Yeah.
We're just not sharing the cost of what's alongside of us. And I know
Exactly.
you've experienced some negativity in some harsh partnerships. I've experienced some harshness the last year or two as well. And I think that's just part of it. It's part of the journey of becoming more resilient, but also one of the reasons why I'm like, I'm letting all this go is because I don't want what I used to have.
And even in the partnership and letting that go, because it was a very difficult situation, looking back at that, I'm I was able to realize a bit ago, that it had to happen that way. It had to be in such a way that, because I'm always the pleaser. Oh, let's make it work. Let's do this. Let's do that.
Yeah,
And
me
it
too.
had to be in
And
such a
I had a
way.
lot of people take advantage of me because of that.
Exactly. So it had to be in such a way that there was no way the partnership was going to continue. Because if it did, I would not be in the vibrational position to do what spirit is asking me to do now. So
You know, you
it,
increase your vibrational frequency.
yeah,
And
oh,
being connected to that individual would not have allowed it.
correct.
Yes, I
Being
agree. Same
being
thing
in
here.
that where being in the business, as it was, wouldn't is I couldn't be doing what I'm here to do now.
Yeah. So we let things go
So we
and we
let go.
trust in the new things and we keep
Yes,
doing it even with fear in the passenger seat.
absolutely. And then
Love it.
finally we can look at it and say, okay, fear, I don't need you right now. Or I recognize you're there, but yeah, just take a back seat. Don't let's take them out of the passenger seat and put them in the back seat.
Put them
At
in the
least
back
that's
seat.
my
I like that.
goal.
Okay.
That's my goal. It's like, okay, backseat. I know you're there. I know you'll pop your head up now and then and try to drive for a bit and then just say, okay, I got this again.
Yeah.
Don't need it.
Yeah. Super good. All right.
It's a journey,
Have the
though. It is
courage to
definitely a
let,
journey.
have the courage to let whatever you need to let go of, let it go.
Yeah,
And then trust in what's new, trust in what's coming, even when it seems like it's not on your timeline. Trust me, it's not on my timeline. I can tell you that right this much. But I'm still trusting that it's coming. I don't know when, I don't know how, but it's coming. And I'm going to be ready to receive the miracle when it does come.
absolutely. And that's really it. It's just saying, yes, I don't know what the next step is. I don't know what this looks like. Show me, guide me, help me. And oftentimes it shows up. The right people shows up, or the right awareness shows up, even though it's uncomfortable. But yeah, just got to take that next step.
All right, Sandy, where can I go learn more about you?
So right now, everything is still because I'm in the process of change. So right now, my website is still brainworksforlife.com. And then from there, people can, if they wanted to get in touch with me, because I've really cleared out the clinical and it's more of what I'm doing now, which is the spiritual, helping people communicate with loved ones.
Oh, I
That
get
kind of
it.
stuff.
People will message me like, hey, did you know that drkylieburton.com is down? Yes,
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm in the
So
middle of a transition.
it's still there, and you can, contact me through that site. It will come to me and I will find it. But my YouTube now is sandywessonrn.com, as I'm slowly shifting things over because there's another Sandy Wesson out there that does different work. So Sandy Wesson RN will get to the YouTube station for me. So
Okay, there you have it. Brainworksforlife.com
yes.
and
And
Sandy Wesson RN.
Facebook is still Brainworks for Life, but I'm not doing as much there. So, it's just again, it's that transitionary time.
I know.
Make
It's the
those
letting it go
changes.
period. That's why our conversation today is about letting it go because we're both in the same stage. Letting it go. And the nice thing is when you clear out that energy, you have space for the new energy to come in.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, guys, that is Unshakable Brain. I'm Dr. Kylie, your host. And if you could give this a share on your social media, give it a review on your favorite listening app, that will help more people find it. And together we can create unshakable brains. See you next time.